Well, good morning. This is Tampa Home Talk, and it is Friday the 13th. Did you realize that today, Leo?
I was heavily reminded about that all week long.
I was thinking, we're like, the month is rolling by so quick, and with Thanksgiving being later in November than it normally is, we're only 12 days before Christmas.
I have to get my shopping in.
Yeah, if you don't have that done, buddy, you better step it up.
I told my wife to just order stuff from me for her, and then I'll wrap it.
You'll be surprised.
I'll be surprised when she opens it.
Hey, what did they get on the 12th day of Christmas?
A partridge and a
No, that's the first day.
Oh, that's right.
I know there's
I did. 12 drummers drumming.
12 drummers drumming.
11 ladies dancing.
Ladies dancing.
10 maids of milking. 9.
I know there's 5 golden
No, I used to know all these.
Oh, you did?
9 ladies dancing.
No, it's 11 ladies dancing.
Are you sure? No.
No, I'm not sure.
No, wait. There's
Lords of Leaping in there.
yeah, there's Lords of Leaping. There's drummers drumming.
I thought it was 8 Lords of Leaping.
There's 9 Lords of Leaping.
Yeah, we're never going to figure this
12
out.
drummers drumming.
If you know the answer, go ahead and text it to
Oh, I
812.
do know it. Okay, hold on. Now you're going to make me look it up.
You're gonna
because
look it
there's
up
12
on-
days of Christmas. 12 days of Christmas song. Come on, Pat. You should have that
But
queued
it's
up.
12 days till Christmas.
Okay, here it is. I found
I only
it.
know 5 and number 1.
Hold on. And let me see here.
Swans are swimming.
Yeah, that's 7, isn't it? Okay.
Everyone knows 5 golden rings. It's like mumble, mumble, mumble. 5
know.
golden rings.
Where's my 12? Hold on. Wait, where's 12?
You got to keep scrolling. Got to keep scrolling. 11
Okay.
pipers piping. 10 lords a leaping. 9 ladies dancing. Pipers piping.
Yeah, I told you Piper's Piping was in there.
Geese a
Where's
laying. Calling birds. 3 French hens. 2 turtle doves. Oh, why couldn't I remember that part?
12? Wait, where's 12?
Well, you're on the 11th. You have to
Okay.
keep scrolling.
So it's 12 drummers drumming.
It has to be 12
it's going
drummers drumming.
backwards, That's right. Just show me the whole thing. That's all I wanted to know.
It's like I had Christmas down in Africa. What is that?
Yeah. 12 drummers drumming. I was right.
Perfect. That's gonna be loud.
12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 9 10
10
lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, right? 6 geese a laying.
That's got to be a big
Everybody
house
knows-
party to take care of.
Everybody knows 5 and down. So we're without Mr. Adam Talley today.
Yeah, it was an emergency. I think he had to handle my insurance binder, and it just kind of sideswiped him.
Is that the case now?
It's also heavy flu season. You got to be careful this time of the year. Make sure you're taking your extras. Here's your inspection 2-minute tip of the week. This time of the year, it's important to inspect your body on a regular basis and make sure that you're taking the proper supplements. Zinc is a very important supplement in fighting off diseases and bacteria and viruses. What ends up happening is you shake a lot of hands, you go to a cocktail party, you start finger fooding, and then you ingest all these germs. Or people reach into the central pots of chips and salsa and other dips with their bare hands. You end up consuming their skin cells and their bacteria when you reach into that pot as well to grab chips. If you're like me, you're not going to touch it for the rest of the season, but if you can't avoid it, make sure you are taking your proper zinc supplements.
Are you hungry now? Let's go eat. Yeah. Thank you,
No, I eat
Dr.
on the way.
Leo.
I eat on the way over. No, it's very important to take zinc. Everyone's sick this time of the year.
You know, I can't help but noticing, like, when I go to the restroom and stuff, and there's ladies that actually don't wash their hands. It's far and few in between, but there's some that...
Well, supposedly 20% of the population doesn't wash their hands after they use the restroom.
You know what I think is funny, though? Like, I'm such a germaphobe, I would never not... Like, I don't even touch the knobs when I leave the bathroom.
You don't use the paper towel method?
If I can get it with my elbow or something, I do. But anyway, I was in this bathroom. A lot of times I'll go in the handicap stalls because there's more room in there. And I always wash my hands. I would never not wash my hands. So I came out of there and I had already washed my hands because there was a sink and paper towels and stuff in there. And this lady looks at me when I'm leaving and she goes, "Aren't you going to wash your hands?"
After you washed them.
I did. There's a bathroom in there with a sink and some paper towels and some soap. Have a nice day.
I always like the awkward right after you leave the bathroom and someone goes to shake your hands, you instinctively say, "I just washed my hands." I'm like, why else would my hands be soap and wet?
Well, you know.
Well, bad aim, I guess.
Yeah, perhaps. If you're a dude, maybe. Anyway, so we've got a couple really cool hours lined up for you. Hour 2 we're still working on because our 9 o'clock had to reschedule.
I already have a great topic for the 9 o'clock.
Before we dive into that, let's talk about something real life from this week, shall we?
Yes.
So, Leo, I was traveling this week for work. I was in Phoenix, and Leo
Was in Lake
travels
Mary.
a lot as well for work. And I'm like texting you I was in Phoenix, so it was 2 hours back.
But that's where I was able to get a hold of you.
Was it 11 o'clock? I tried
No, it was 12:30 my time when we talked on the phone.
But we've talked late before. Like, it's been 2 a.m. We've been texting before.
Yeah, I'm usually up till 2 regardless.
Yeah. So anyway, we have this home inspection, and I'm going to pull it up because I was looking at it.
We can't use the address.
I won't. But we have this home inspection. I was looking at it, and so this had a sinkhole in it. Or, well, actually, no, let me go back.
It was never called a sinkhole.
That's right. The seller's disclosure stated that there was some settlement, but there was never a sinkhole, and that it was actually remediated. Yes. So then they gave us the remediation reports from the engineer, and then your inspector went out there. And so I'm not the engineer, right? I'm the agent that sees a bazillion home inspections. So I'll comment on this first, Leo, and then you can comment after. And you tell me what you think, because when I'm looking at this, I was like, okay, hold on. I got a wind mitigation. I got a 4-point, and here's our inspection. So I'm looking at this, and here's some things that kind of cued me that there could still be an issue. And so I just want you to know, the point of this, bringing this up, is not only did we see it this week, but some of the language is a little bit vague in the inspection report, and I'll let Leo explain to you why that is and how that works and what you should be looking for. But first of all, let me just comment on one thing. Anything with a safety concern on your inspection report is always highlighted in red, which is really cool because there's a lot of pages to these inspection reports always. Let me see, and they're hard to read. I was trying to see how many were on here for the lay consumer, right? Because there's a lot of pages in here.
Yeah, I mean, we give a thorough inspection. I mean, we have to cover 1,000 points of defects. We have to cover 9 major systems. We have to cover health and safety, code issues. We have to cover minor defects too. Anything that's material. So, I mean, yeah, we're all over the place.
So I'm looking at this, and there was a couple things with regards to vegetation, grading, drainage, driveway, all that sort of stuff.
All the warning signs that there's something major going on.
So I don't think this is a big deal because we see this a lot, but this is one of the things mentioned in this inspection report. It says the concrete drive at the front of the home has a settlement crack. Water can cause further deterioration if not repaired and sealed properly. Recommended to repair as desired. And what else did I see here?
We already talked about cracks. I mean, some of the bigger warning signs in that report would have been the fact that there was a low point right next to the walkway.
I know. I was trying to find it. Yeah. Hold on.
Pages 20, 21.
Am I not far enough in the report? Hold on.
Let's go to pages 20 and 21 in the report.
I don't see numbers on here. Hold on.
Oh, they're in the bottom right-hand corner.
Okay, 20 and 21. Let me scroll in.
You modern people with your Kindles
right?
and stuff don't
Shame
even know
on
what
me.
a page number is
Not
anymore.
knowing this report inside and out. Okay. So I don't think this is a big deal, but it's one of the first things that I kind of look at, and then we look for other things in there. So one of the things in here that you commenting on, it's in the exterior section of the report. It says the block wall at the exterior in areas has hairline cracks. Further deterioration can occur if not corrected. A qualified contractor should inspect and repair as needed. So let's talk about that, right? Because you could see those minor hairline cracks. They're going to follow the point of least resistance, right? Which would be the mortar joints.
Yeah, stair step.
Right. So we have soft sandy soil. That's really, I don't think that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Now the next one on the following page, looking at this it's like bowing out almost at the stair step cracks.
It does.
Cracks. And it says,
Did you say craps on the radio?
I know, I didn't mean to. I was trying to say cracks.
We're talking about the roulette game.
Yeah. So it says the block wall shows evidence of a previous repair due to potential settlement cracking. Monitor repair if cracking persists. Further evaluation by a qualified contractor is recommended on repair. So anytime you see further evaluation by a qualified contractor, pay attention to that language.
Well, we have that in our report. Most home inspections companies would say structural engineer, but since we are structural engineers, we can't say that. So we just say qualified contractor to kind of get around the fact that there's enough defects here where we're kind of saying you got a problem.
So this is the point, Leo, right? Because and granted, you don't do all the inspections, right?
No.
But you can see stuff when they come back in the report to know kind of what's going on. But the lay inspector is not an engineer by trade, right?
Definitely.
Nor is any inspector, for that matter, for the most part.
All of them are, all of our certified master inspectors on Barrel Engineering staff are trained in structural evaluation.
Right. So, but with that being said, anytime you see a further evaluation is needed, that's when it's a really good idea to have whoever that other expert is comment on it, right? So if it's structural, Yes, have a structural engineer look at that. If
Definitely.
it's roof related and there were some roof defects in this report, have the roofer look at it. So when we come back, there's a few more things in this report that I'm going to point out that were cause for me saying, hey, Leo, can you take a look at this report real quick? And then I'm going to tell you what the end result was when we come back in just a minute. So stick around. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk.
Back. I'm pretty sure we're back and he's playing it.
All right, your mic's going up now.
6 keys so late, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Pat, for
Are
coming
there
on
even
up.
pear trees? I mean, what's a pear tree? I mean, there are pear trees, but I mean,
Not here.
what's a partridge? It's a bird?
Yeah.
So why would you have Cornish hens, geese, ducks, and a partridge? It's a whole lot of fowl.
I don't even know where that song originated, but that's probably a great question.
And it probably originated in the Northeast, Bavaria.
Yes, somewhere like that, I would imagine. So let's go back to this inspection report real quick.
I feel like
So-
I feel like I'm being ridiculed on the air.
No, no, no. Listen. So I'm listening. I'm looking at this inspection report. I'm in Phoenix. One of my other agents were there, and as one of your inspectors was in the field. So I start looking at this, and I'm like, I always look. Is there anything major that like my client would be like, we should have talked more about this before I bought the home, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and clumping. And the nice part about our report, it clumped all these major structural defects together. So one defect on its own, and then randomly another defect might not catch someone's eye. But when you put 5 or 6 major structural defects all back to back, saying further evaluation, you got a problem.
So here's one of the things. It says the main entry door was wood rotted. Further deterioration may occur if not repaired. A qualified person should be needed to repair or replace. But this is not like low. This looks like it's high.
No, that's high. That's.
So that's one of the things that kind of cued me off. Like that doesn't make sense. At the bottom, you get that from the water splatter, right?
Yeah.
And then this right here, and it's actually in red on the report. This is kind of what made me look at it and go, I don't know if I like this. And I think it's a lot more than just water splatter. But it says the exterior floor on the patio at the rear of the home is deteriorated and damaged. A fall or injury can occur if not corrected. Recommend to monitor and repair as needed. But I'm looking at that going, I don't know about that.
Who designs a door with a 4-inch drop?
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So here's another one too. It says there's on the bottom part of the going back into their page, it says evidence of low soil impression in one or more areas. Impressions in soil can be a trip hazard and potential foundation settlement. Recommended grading by a qualified landscaper. But I'm looking at this, so it was the combination of all of these
That's
things.
why we clump them together.
That I said, I don't know about this. I think this one has some major issues. So I start texting you like the random pages from the report that you need to see, so you don't have to pull the whole report up. And then I sent you the prior engineering letter and said, hey, Leo, take a look at this. What do you think?
And the sad part is, and I'll admit full fault to this, if I had read that letter prior to our guy inspecting, we probably wouldn't have inspected the property.
Say more. Say more.
So basically, back when Lake Pratchett, the incident in May of 2017 happened, we had a house that had a sinkhole, known sinkhole on it. And the house was underpinned, and it was not grout injected. There are 2 forms of sinkhole repair. The first one is grout injection, where you take large trucks of concrete and you pump that concrete underground. And what you're doing is you're filling all the voids in the soil. The second repair
Think
is...
about this. Like Florida's built on Swiss cheese. So what
Pretty
you're
much.
talking about is pumping grout or concrete
To fill the holes.
through all those holes of Swiss
Basically,
cheese.
the way I
Yeah.
describe it easily is take a kitchen sink sponge. Normally, if the sponge is wet, it's big, it's fluffy, it's a little spongy, but you can use it to wash dishes and it's all good. As that sponge starts to dry out, it shrivels. You get all these big pockets. That's where all the bacteria likes to live, by the way. But you get all the bacteria and virus day. So you get all those big pockets. And then when you try and use a dry sponge to wipe anything, pieces of the sponge come off. So that's basically what happens under the land. The sponge dries out. And then when you get these rainfalls, where I call sinkhole season, April to June 15th, when the kitchen sink sponge starts to collect all that water, it pulls all the soil into those voids. That's what actually causes the manifestation of an active sinkhole. So on this property, it was deemed to have not a sinkhole, but it had like, they say it's loose organics at the top layer strata. Basically, that just means the soil wasn't compacted properly when the house was put there. And that's right there in the report. The other thing it says is that the home was underpinned and that was sufficient.
Which means?
Underpinning is basically taking corkscrews, putting it on the side of your house, and then putting those into the lime rocks. So your house is now, it looks like it's on the ground, but it's actually supported by something 20, 30 feet below. That's all fine and dandy for the house, but your house and the land are completely different. So after Lake Pragen happened, where the house itself was underpinned
Yeah.
and the soil wasn't grouted, the experts who for decades had been saying grout injection is needed to remediate a sinkhole won their case, and then the counties got smart and said, if you just did pinning and you didn't do grouting, you have unremediated subsistence on your property. So this letter goes to the tune of saying basically, and it was right in the window too, 2008 to 2015 was all this was happening. Right in that window, it's saying, hey, I can just do underpinning to remediate the sinkhole. My guess is there was an insurance payout. They did the minimum that was allowed back then, which was the pinning, and they might have kept the rest of the money.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a really big wound.
Like a $13 billion wound
Yeah.
in the case of Lake Pragen.
So here's the thing with that one. Let me just comment on that because, in my cross of paths with many, many people, I actually ended up connecting with a person that was a retired real estate agent, actually to sell her house. And she lived in that area before Lake Pageant was developed. And so do you know what I found out about that area? First of all, I knew the agent that sold the home, and they told them when they sold it that it needed to be underpinned and grouted. That was the engineer's recommendation at the time of the sale when it changed hands.
It's only a $300,000 fix.
So they elected to basically only underpin it and not grout it, which is what we're talking about.
Which is a $30,000. You got to see the math here. I get $300,000 from my insurance company. I can do a $30,000 fix. The market's upside down. What am I going to do with that $270,000? I'm going to put it in my pocket and walk away from my house.
Yes, that's what a lot of people did. So meanwhile, your home is kind of floating on top, but then underneath is this big void that's forming. And so what I found out is that area where that home went in and they took the ones around it, the developer originally filled in water, like filled in low areas, and there was never supposed to be houses built there.
Right.
So the developer had filled in those low areas, and they basically just
lake
followed the normal path of water and continued to erode underneath the soil.
Yeah, the lake wanted its land back.
Pretty much, yeah. So that's interesting what happened, but that's a good example of, and how as the lay person or someone that say they're getting ready to build a home from the ground up, how would they determine whether or not what's under the soil and if it's solid? Would you recommend ground penetrating radar? Would you recommend something else? There's a lot of methods, right?
There's what I'd recommend, and then there's what actually is done. I mean, if you're
what's
building
the minimum too? Like
if you're building a subdivision, you typically do something called a phase 1 environmental study, and you do some soil borings. You get a general feel for how the land is, and that recommendation is you need to put fill in, you need to bring sand in, you need to build lime rock in, you need to compact the soil. Those are different methods you can do to prep land for building. So that'll be in that first report. Now, sometimes you'll get a report, and it'll say the land is suitable for building. It's got sand, it's got decent compaction, and then they wait a year and a half and they build the house. Well, a lot can change in a year and a half on the top layer of soil.
especially with all the rain we get here.
Exactly. So then what ends up happening is they build these houses on loose, sandy soil, and you get all this settlement. And that's something that might have happened here in that there was no real there was no sinkhole on this property. But there was definitely a lot of loose, sandy soils near the top.
So here's the thing. So we always, defer to the experts. And so what I told my client, who represented the buyer here, was I said, first of all, I would call this company and find out there's a warranty and see if it's transferable.
And of course, they're going to say no.
And there was not a transferable warranty. So
because we're not going to mention the company by name, but the company in question is a franchise company that just does underpinning. They don't do ground injection, so they can't give you a true structural warranty for the underhouse conditions. They can just give you one for the house.
Yeah, again, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a really big wound, really. And then wondering why that wound is not all the way covered up, right?
Yeah.
So my client, when I talked to them, they were like, I could tell they were really disappointed But I told them, I said, look, I talked to the engineer. We reviewed your report together. We looked at this
Did
letter.
you mention we did it at 12:30 at night?
I was texting them at that hour, so they should have known. But anyway, I said, I would highly recommend that you not move forward, and we just put in a release and cancellation. Let's get out of this contract and find you another one.
Definitely.
I feel like the seller needs to file an insurance claim, but that's going to be for them to, work on and figure out on their
They're not
own.
going to be able to do that.
Why?
Because they probably already had a claim and a payout.
They didn't. It was the prior owner.
Well, it doesn't matter. The prior owner probably had the claim and the payout. Like this goes back to I'm going to take my $270,000. I'm going to walk away, and it's going to become the next buyer's problem.
So what if it was a different client? They have their own insurance. Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
It's an Adam question, isn't it?
That is an Adam question. No, actually, I think
And Aaron,
that's when we had the Florida Peninsula guys here. We had those.
They would have been a great.
That would have been the great
one
question
to ask.
for them.
All right. So I'm going to tell you how the rest of that conversation went down. We come back after the break. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk, and our off-air number, if you have any questions related to this stuff or otherwise, we'll always guide you right. It's 813-377-2775. You can call or text us with your questions at 813-377-2775. We'll be back right after this break, so stick around. 813-377-2775.
Wait, Santa Claus is here? I thought he was still at the Bass Pro Outlet.
It's Pat George.
Our Facebook Livers can't hear this.
I know. You want to sing it?
I know. I have no singing voice. I told you after my recreational activities last night, I have almost no voice whatsoever.
Didn't get to talk. So welcome back. This is Tampa Home Talk. We're glad you're here. It is December and it's 12 days before Christmas. If you didn't catch that yet, it is right around the corner. So get your holiday shopping wrapped up in the craziness of the malls.
And get your
shopping
Advent
everywhere.
calendars going. Or is that after Christmas?
Your Advent calendar?
Don't I get a chocolate a day now for 12 days?
Yeah, we don't participate in that tradition. I'm not sure.
I don't participate in any of those traditions. So
All right. So real quick to sometimes. I'm not a big chocolate fan.
she be eating chocolate.
I don't eat a lot of candy or sweets. I don't even like
I lost
soda.
my sassy voice.
All right. So real quick, back to this inspection. So literally, okay, hold on. Let me find the text. That's even better, I think. And I'll read you the text from our customer, which basically,
How could you do this to me?
no, it's not how it went at all.
That's how I imagine it going.
But I told him that I don't recommend that we move forward just because, it needed a roof too. I didn't even talk about all of that. I just said there's so much
I didn't even
stuff.
look at that part.
Yeah, it needed a roof. The AC was pretty much on its last leg.
That's 20,000 right there.
Yeah. So I called him and I said, look, I know you're disappointed. I know you like the home, but I really don't recommend you move forward. I mean, according to the engineer, it's going to be
It's a death trap.
well, $40,000 to $60,000 with a grout injection. And so
Mini death trap.
I said, you can move forward if you want to, but I'm going to put it in writing that I told you not to. And that's basically how it went down. And he said, well, how can we make sure, can we, I forget what he said. It was something on the order of that. Like,
You
how
can
can
do
we
the
make sure?
geotechnical testing. I mean, around penetration, just based on the report alone from 2015, I can tell it was unremediated. We'll say shallow sinkhole activity. Then based on our inspection where we found the depressions and the cracking and the bulging walls and more depressions and the sinking driveway. This was my argument back when everyone's like, underpinning can restore a house that has a sinkhole on it. I'm like, then why is my driveway sinking? Why is my fence slumping? Why is there this new depression in the yard? Putting pins up against the house does nothing to fix all that. And it took a $13 billion incident for them to finally start listening. Sorry.
The inside has cracking too, like through some of the
Oh, of course.
tiles. Yeah, there was quite a few little things along the way that were enough to.
And the trick with engineering, see, home inspectors, and I love home inspectors. We have 6 of them on staff. They're all certified master inspectors. I love them, but they're really good at the microscope, looking at the individual details. In fact, there's one home inspection company out there. They do great work, but I'm still not going to mention their name. Their logo is a guy with a magnifying glass. So yeah, they're going to zoom in. One of the things I have to teach these home inspectors as we get them engaged in structural is take a step back, give me more of the broader picture. So any one of those defects on their own, as in a home inspection report, yeah, they look bad. But when the engineer sees the combination of those 10 defects together, that's when it really jumps out. And that's the good part about the way we put our reports together, is it makes it easy for our engineers to give these opinions because we clump those defects together. So even though the home inspector might not be taking a step back, we get that step back through the photos.
And here's the thing, like it's the home inspector's job to uncover all the generalities of the inspection. So anything that they see, and then, for example, this house also had some roof issues. So what do? We send it to the roofer and say, hey, look at this, this, and this. What do you think? Well, you have some missing shingles. You have, this, and that. And the inspector said, it might have about 7 years worth of life. But after the roofer looked at it, he said, no, it's kind of at the end of its life. It's toast. So it was the combination of all those things.
We should get this seller in touch with Aaron Donovan.
Well, I did. I gave the listing agent's number to Erin, and I said, give this attorney a call. She's really good at this kind of stuff. She works on it, but I think your seller's got a bigger issue than just this buyer walking away.
Yeah, and it always baffles me when...
Now they have to disclose that. They have to disclose everything they found the next buyer.
They have to disclose the fact... there's no written report from us saying it's probable shallow level soil subsidence.
If it were me, I would not try to sweep that under the rug personally, but...
Well, yeah, they're just going to have more buyers walk away. What ends up happening on houses like this, and it's happened before, where the seller doesn't actually disclose it and just lists it back on the market, we've had to inspect the same home 2 or 3 times. And it's always awkward because I'll always send a different inspector out to make sure that we give a different report because the client's paying for it. But at the end of the day, it's the same defects.
So here's the thing. I mean, I told the customer, he said, is there any way that we can just make 100% sure? I said, sure. You can call the engineer out there to come check it out and do an inspection for you. And
well, he said 100% sure. So to be 100% sure, you can spend $2,000. We can have BTL, hopefully you're listening, Stephen, go out there under us, and they can do a ground penetrating radar, which is basically taking waves under the ground to see the voids. And then they're going to find voids, and then they're going to want to do soil boring, another $1,800, under the ground.
Yep.
And to determine what soil is missing and what kind of remediation is needed.
So do you want to spend $4,000
to walk away
for your inspections? And that's not a quick process, right? That takes time as well. We had a 7-day inspection time.
It takes a 2-week process. So at that point, you basically have to ask an addendum to the seller. I want to do geotechnical testing. Please extend my due diligence period by 3 weeks. And you know the results.
Which you're not going to see. Commercial, sure. You would see that in commercial, but not on residential.
If I was the seller, I don't know. If I knew I had the problem, and I didn't want to spend the $4,000 to confirm it, I would say, okay, buyer, here's your 3 weeks. Because once they produce those reports and give them to me, they're mine. I can then use them as the seller. So if I want $4,000 worth of free testing for my buyer to walk away.
Yeah, but the buyer is typically not going to do that. The buyer's not going to spend that on a residential inspection for the most part.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm just talking strategy.
So
don't even get me started about commercial. I'm going through my own.
Well, talk about it because I think it's something that's real.
We'll talk about that for a segment. We'll wrap this.
That's the meat and the potatoes of it. Really, is just that you can spend more money to be 100% sure, but why would you spend an extra $4,000 to basically hear the same thing that you're hearing when you had an expert take a look at your stuff?
Because you don't believe the expert who's a state of Florida neutral evaluator, registered and on a list of 50 engineers on that list. Why would you listen to someone that's that much of an expert?
So we got a little report too that I wanted to kind of chat with you guys about and give you some facts about the Tampa, Florida housing market.
No, wait, segue out. We'll have to touch on my commercial mishaps later.
You want to do it now?
No. Let's talk about your little report. I thought we were saving that for the next hour.
I have nothing else. We got something else for the next hour.
Okay,
don't worry. Are we talking about this next hour? I guess we'll do it next hour.
Yeah, we'll just do all that next hour. I want to continue. You complained about the home inspection report. I want to complain about real estate.
Not complain about the home inspection report.
I want to complain about real estate.
Go ahead.
So we often talk about the fact in the show that it's a seller's market.
Yeah, it is.
And it's crazy because I've had 2 deals where I've said, I'm trying to buy, Leo is trying to buy a piece of commercial land with a building on it to house his staff due to his growth and expansion for Barrel Engineering and Inspection. I've had 2 deals fall through. They wanted X number of dollars for this property. I'm like, okay, here's X. and the deal still falls through. It's like, here's a wad of cash. I'm basically walking up to this guy with a burlap sack that has an S with 2 lines through it that's filled with money. I'm dumping it out on the table in front of them. It's exactly what they asked for, and they're telling me no.
Why?
I don't know. They spook. They like one of them went as far as to, I gave them the offer. The real estate agent's like, oh, I'm going to present your offer, and we got a deal. We'll have this signed tomorrow. Couldn't get a hold of the seller all weekend. Seller turned around and rented the building for a year out from under the real estate agent. Crazy.
Their contract surely covers that, but okay.
So then it was like, did I want to adopt the lease? I'm like, well, okay. The lease says it's for a part of the property, not the whole property. This is doable. And then the agent's like, well, no, it's actually for the whole property. I'm like, that's not what the lease says. And then we go in and look at the rest of the property since it was 2 different buildings. One building was a death trap. If you're a landlord of a death trap, you have to bring that up to standards. I don't want to adopt that. Deal fell through. Next one. This was a sad but happy story. You had a guy who had a building sold. The buyer couldn't get financing, right?
Okay.
We show up an hour after he finds out buyer can't get financing and deal fell through.
Yeah.
We're like, we'll assume the contract. We'll keep the closing date. Here's the same amount of money.
That's what I thought we were moving on, no?
Yeah, agents are like, oh, this is great. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. You'll have a signed contract tomorrow. I got the financing all lined up within 24 hours. I have the appraiser all ready to go. I've got my phase 1 company all ready to go. I could close this time of the year before 12/31.
That's crazy, really, on commercial.
That I could move that fast because I'm that
it is.
connected. And the bank, banks, they just want to get money out at this point. So, and if you're listening, bank, thank you so much for giving me money. Awkward silence. Okay, now we're back. So
what happened? I'm waiting for the punchline.
the punchline is, on Saturday rolls around, I'm like, where's my signed contract? It's coming. Monday rolls around. Oh, seller's not sure he wants to sell. I'm like, you had the building sold. I'm giving you the same amount of money, the same closing date, same everything. What do you mean you don't want to sell? And so now...
If the contract's assignable, they don't have a choice.
Well, it wasn't assignable.
Okay.
To that point. It's like we had to make a new contract.
Got it.
But I'm just like... So now the seller basically is ghosting the realtor. So I'm still looking for a building. Here's someone, poor buyer. Here's a wad of cash. I'm willing to give you money for your piece of property that you're willing to sell.
What are you looking for? Maybe there's somebody listening that has a building they want to sell. What are you looking for?
Well, I need about a half acre to an acre of land with a building on it. And I don't really care about the condition of the building. If the building's in poor shape, I'll level it and build something else. If the building's in good shape, I'll grow onto it to get to the size I need. I'm super flexible. All I'm asking for is it needs to be basically east of Armenia, west of Mango, south of Bush, north of 60. And that's a huge box.
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized box.
Listen to the whining in my voice. Why can't I give money away?
Don't worry. We'll find you
Trying
something.
to give money away to people who want money.
You go north. There's plenty of stuff north. So.
Okay, you can't go north.
You don't want to go north?
I got a box. I got a pretty big box. I also have the best real estate team in the Tampa Bay area working for me.
So since our 9 o'clock hour went to bunk, I think we should go ahead and get into this. And then because really this is a lot of meat and the potatoes here, Leo, on why, how to make your offer as attractive as possible.
Well, follow through with actually selling it. That's number one to make it attractive.
Yes.
They have no problem making it attractive.
You're just a little sore right now.
I'm very sore.
Your deal didn't go.
Very, very sore. I was so looking forward to January 1 moving into this brand new office. It looks sweet.
Listen, I will tell you what I tell every buyer that we have. You always get the place you're supposed to have. So if it doesn't work out with the one that you wanted, that's because there's a better one right around the corner you're supposed to have. So.
I'm going to my other strategy where I just put offers in on everything and see what sticks.
Don't worry. You'll get the one you're supposed to have, I promise. The perfect one is waiting for you right around the corner.
I hear this music bed. We haven't done the off-air number yet.
It's 813-377-2775. You can call or text us if you have a question or you got a building that you want to sell. Call or text us at 813-377-2775. We'll be right back.
Shouldn't there be 12 drummers there? Shouldn't there be 12 drummers there? There really should be 12 drummers.
Well, it's 12 days before Christmas.
Yeah, there's only one drummer there. And what is bum? Could they not afford trumpets?
I don't know. I do not have the answer for that.
Pat?
You better figure it out in case you have a trivia question.
Yeah, Pat, why are there no actual trumpets when they're going bum?
Because I think this is more a cappello. This is pentatonics.
Oh, well, Pentatonics is an awesome band, but I mean, there should still be, in all versions, there's no trumpets.
Because it's a drummer boy.
Oh, the pum-pum-pum-pum is the snare drum.
Probably.
Okay.
Why are you critiquing there? You're inspecting the Christmas song?
Yes.
I inspect everything.
Absolutely.
I can't turn this off. This is why my friends never invite me over to their house.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I see all your defects.
I do. All of them. You should be surprised I don't tear this room apart.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just bitter.
I'm surprised he's never done that. He does need some eggnog.
So if you have a building to sell me, Leo, for Barrel Engineering and Inspection.
he'll pick it
please-
apart during inspection.
No,
Don't
please.
bother.
I don't care. I will renovate the building. I don't care. 813-377-2775. Text the word building to 813-377-2775. Leo needs a building to move his company to.
With all of the strip centers and the malls and the areas that are vacant, you can't find something. That is insane.
He can't find what he wants. He's looking for a sizely amount of property. That's part of the challenge.
A half acre to an acre. I need parking for
In Tampa.
30 to 40 people.
In Tampa.
That's a huge box. No, we found properties. We found three really good properties so far, and all three have fallen through.
Don't worry. We'll find you one. I know we will.
Uh-huh.
So on a different note, U.S. homeowners have actually enjoyed an average increase of $5,300 in equity in Q3. That's just homeowners nationwide.
5,300, and it's more for here.
In Q3, it's definitely more for here. We're going
Yeah.
to tell you about 36 facts about the Tampa, Florida housing market and some
love the
really
Tampa,
cool
Florida
stuff.
market.
We've been talking about inspection stuff. I feel like we should bounce into this before we get to that, but it's not going to be enough for an hour or two.
But I thought you said that's pretty meaty.
It is. It is. So I guess we're talking about inspection stuff for a couple of hours.
That works.
If you got a question, by the way, and you're listening, and
Text the word building to 813-377-2775.
really I'm more inclined to hear from someone listening. If you purchased your home and there was a defect, and let's say you didn't discover that defect until after you bought your home, be really curious to know what it is, even if it's a little thing that annoys you or irritates you, or if it's something big, which, by the way, Beryl would buy your house back if they missed something big. Let us know. Call Pat. He's in the studio, 888-404-1010. You're welcome to come on the air with us if you like, or just tell Pat and he'll relay it. 888-404-1010. You are back there, right, Pat?
Wow, where else would I be?
Well, I don't know.
Roaming the halls. At this time of the year, there's so many freebies walking around the radio
Be
station.
bouncing in one of the other studios. They were doing traffic, so.
I could just imagine him sitting there with what was the place that catered a barbecue in the morning when we were there?
Oh, how about that?
Yep, 888
Go to the phone.
404-1010.
He's
We're
gotta
going
go
to
to the
get you. I'm just curious. I'm always curious to know the person listening. And we know unless you have a real estate need, you're probably not going to reach out right away. We get that. But we always want to keep this show really relevant. So if you found some of those little nuances when you did your inspection, we would love to hear about it. So probably have a caller right now.
Talk to Patricia on the line.
Awesome.
Good morning, Patricia.
Hey, good morning. This isn't regarding actually a house that I purchased. I own a home, and I want to sell it like June, July, August time frame.
Mhm.
Should I get an inspection before I put it on the market so I know what's wrong and what I might need to fix?
So I love your question, and I will answer that from the real estate perspective because you know Leo's answer. He's going to say, yeah, he owns an inspection firm. But I will tell you, as an agent myself, even selling my own home with as many homes that I sell, and it's a lot. Like, I mean, we will sell $30 million worth of real estate this year. And basically your own home, there's things you're not going to see, right? Think about how often you're actually climbing in your own attic. Think about how often you're actually on your roof checking stuff out. And so if it were me, personally, and I were selling my home, I would absolutely hire Leo and his team to come do what we call a pre-listing inspection. And that pre-listing inspection is going to give you the opportunity to find anything wrong with your home before the buyer does, and fix all those things wrong with your home before the buyer does. So one of the prime things that we mentioned is sometimes, right, if you're under contract already, the buyer's done their inspection and they found all these things wrong with the home, they can start to put little nuances in the contract, like have this done by a licensed plumber. And it could be something like as simple as change the wax ring, right, on your toilet. You don't
That's
really.
not really simple.
Yeah, well, I mean.
That one's really complicated. But anyway.
My husband has done that, so I'm going to say it is fairly simple.
Yeah. So, I mean.
Hard stuff.
I wouldn't tell you to go play with your electrical box, right? And
I tell
fix that
people
kind
you
of stuff.
can upgrade electrical outlets from a 12-year-old video.
No, but I mean, here's the thing. You do have little things like that the homeowners are comfortable fixing on their own. And the bottom line is it's their home. They can fix it any way they want to, right? There's some things we recommend you have done by a licensed professional person. There's other things your handyman could do pretty easily. What you don't want to do is get caught, especially in a market that we believe may start shifting a little bit next year. We're running into an election year. You don't want to get caught in a position where it's not really a seller's market. You're in a balanced market, or even worse, a buyer's market. You're trying to sell. Now the buyer can have the upper hand on, okay, if you want me to move forward, I want these things fixed. In our contracts, we've seen a lot of as-is contracts for the last several years, which means you don't have to fix anything, but the buyer also doesn't have to buy it. As our market starts to shift, we're going to start going into contracts with repair limits, which is like 1.5% of the purchase price on general inspection items. So, Patricia, to answer your question, if it were me, I would get that pre-listing home inspection done. And if there's any big things on there or safety concerns, I would absolutely handle those. It's going to give you time to do that ahead of that, selling it. And it's going to give you the option to repair what you want and outsource the rest. Make sense?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, and if you want some information or you want us to give you a valuation on your home, we're happy to do that too. I'll have Pat take down your information. And thanks for listening. Thanks for your question. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoy your show.
Thanks. Stick around for hour number 2. We're going to talk a little bit more about how a buyer can make an offer attractive to get your offer accepted, which is a hard thing to do in this market. And we'll chat a little bit about some 36 facts about the Tampa, Florida housing market that are pretty cool. I think you'll find them fascinating. Our offer number is 813-377-2775. Again, 813-377-2775. That's our off-air number, so you can call or text us at that number. Thanks again, Patricia. And if you've got another question, we'll give out our on-air number when we come back after the break. And feel free to call in and ask away. Pat will either put you on or you can ask it to him. Remember, love where you live or I'll fix it. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, joined by Leo Kane. We'll be back for hour number 2 in just a moment, so stick around.